You know a colossal flood is coming, but how would you survive? Would you climb the highest mountain, board a sturdy boat, go into an underground bunker? Would it be enough? Our ancient ancestors faced this question head on, and against all odds, some survived. From every corner of the known world, tales emerge of daring escapes in boats, chests, and even giant gourds. Yes, giant gourds. These myths hold whispers of humanity's resilience against overwhelming destruction. Join me as we dive into fascinating flood stories, uncovering tales of courage, survival, and mystery that have endured for thousands of years on the White Rabbit YouTube channel. Let's get into it. The oldest written copy of the Sumerian flood myth dates back to 2000 BC, which was 4,000 years ago. The Gilgamesh flood myth is found on a clay tablet written in cuneiform. In it, Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh, a giant, a secret story. The great gods Anu, Enlil, Ninurta, Ennugi, and E are sworn to secrecy about their plan to cause the flood. Despite the secrecy, the god E, the Sumerian god Enki, told Utnapishtim to demolish his house and build a boat 120 cubits square, which equals 55 meters square or 180 feet square. He loaded it with all the living beings. Then the Anunnaki gods lit up the land with lightning. The wind and the flood lasted for 6 days and 6 nights, flattening the land. After the flood, all the humans not on the boat had been turned to clay. The boat lodged firmly on Mount Nemush. Utnapishtim and his wife have been blessed as gods and transported to live at the mouth of the rivers. When was Noah's flood? Calculating the date from biblical creation, see the graph, Noah's flood was in 1656 AM, Anno Mundi, which means year of the world. 4,359 years ago in 2348 BC. Here's a quick recap of Noah's flood as found in Genesis 6:9. Men had become exceedingly violent and evil. Only Noah, a giant, pleased God. God told Noah he would send a flood as judgment upon this terrible evil. God instructed Noah to build an ark for his family and pairs of animals. The flood covered the entire earth. All animals and humans not on the ark were destroyed. Noah sent out a raven and a dove to find dry land. When the dove returned with an olive leaf, Noah knew the land was dry enough to make landfall, most likely in present-day Turkey. The Aboriginal Australian flood myth is quite odd. Tiddalik the frog is very thirsty and drinks all the water from the rivers, creeks, and lakes. All the other animals get together to make the frog laugh, to empty out the water and replenish all the creeks, streams, and lakes. The Maori New Zealand flood myth was caused by primal parents. Rangi, the Sky Father, and the Earth Mother, who were separated by their children, caused the flood. Tahaki, a hero, built a canva, which is like a boat made of fabric, to save himself and his family. The Muisca civilization in Colombia. The god Boshika punishes humanity's disobedience by flooding the world. He later becomes a benevolent figure, teaching the survivors agriculture and civilization. The Yoruba culture in Nigeria and Benin. The flood was caused by the supreme deity Olodumare. He punished the people for their corruption. The deity Obatala sends a dove to find dry land. When it returns with a palm nut, the flood ends. The Aina culture in northern Japan is a distinctive culture. Their language is unrelated to the Japanese language. Their water god punished them by flooding the lands. An elder advised a man to build a boat to save himself, his wife, and animals, and they eventually repopulated the earth. As for the rest of Japan, they surprisingly lack a major flood myth. Scholars have used the global flood myths of other cultures to argue for the supremacy of the Shinto, claiming that the fact that Japan has no flood myth shows it's the highest point on earth, the closest place to the heavens. They see themselves as descendants from the gods, from the empire of the sun, Hiva, Pacifica, Mu, also known as Mu Dalu, as introduced in the continent of Mu and predecessor of Atlantis episode. The Mapuche culture in Chile and Argentina. A celestial serpent called Kai Kai Vilu causes a flood that destroys the world. The supreme being Nenechen helps a hero named Tren Tren Vilu defeat the serpent and restore the earth. The Tlingit culture in Alaska. A girl and her dog survive the flood by floating in a wooden box. A raven later drops pebbles that become humans to repopulate the earth. The Inca from Peru, as recorded by a Spanish chronicler. The god Viracocha sent a flood to destroy the wicked and created new people to repopulate the earth. In Greece, Plato's Timaeus from 360 BCE, 2383 years ago, a flood is described. The Bronze Race angered Zeus with their constant warring. Zeus punishes humanity by sending a flood. The Titan Prometheus, a giant that had created humans from clay, tells the secret plan to Deucalion, advising him to build an ark. After 9 days and 9 nights, the water recedes. The ark lands on a mountain. Then rocks were thrown that turned into people. Thailand. The first man and woman were created by the supreme god Furuthua. After 1,000 years, their descendants were wicked, cruel, and not interested in worshiping. The god got angry and punished them with a great flood. Some descendants survived by climbing into a giant gourd. After many months, two deities, Quan Long and Quang Lai, led them to a new land called Muong Then, where they were taught to cultivate rice, farm, and build structures. The Berber North Africa flood. A woman named Tingis and her dog survive the flood. They eventually repopulate the earth. Don't ask me how. Here's another Maori myth from the Ngati Poro tribe. A divine ancestor named Unuku sends a deluge to destroy his enemies. His daughter Kahutienu saves a few people on a raft made from tree trunks. The Philippines myth. One year, when the rainy season should have come but didn't, the river dried up. The people dug down to find the soul of the river. They struck a great spring that angered the gods. It began to rain. The river overflowed its banks. The flood wiped out all of humanity except two survivors, Wigan and Bugan, who repopulated the earth after the waters receded. Tahiti was destroyed by the sea. Two people survived, a husband and a wife, with chickens, dogs, cats, and pigs. They survived on Mount Opitohito for 10 days and nights until the sea abated. Iran. The Vidavad mentions that Ahura Mazda warns Ima, also known as Jamshid IV, Shah of the Pishtadian dynasty, that there will be a violent winter storm followed by melting snow. Ima constructs an avestan, an enclosure, populated with the fittest men, women, food, water, and pairs of animals. The Tamil culture from South India has the epic Sila Patikaram flood myth. The goddess Koravai unleashes the flood to punish the protagonist Kanagi's enemies. The Koi and San myth from South Africa. The flood was caused by the trickster deity Hatsi Abib. He opened the floodgates of the heavenly lake, drowning all living beings except for a few who took refuge on Table Mountain. The Cherokee myth from southern USA. A great flood covers the land due to the sins and corruption of humanity. The animals, guided by the water beetle, create new land to save the survivors. The Gond tribe myth from central India. The flood submerged the entire world. The hero, Singbanga, took refuge in a large wooden box with pairs of animals and later repopulated the earth. Once again, don't ask me how. The Cree Native American flood legend. Two men and two women survived by seeking refuge on a mountaintop. That's it. Here's a Taiwan Aboriginal myth from the Sassiat tribe. They are the smallest group of Aboriginals in Taiwan, with only 1.3% of the indigenous population, inhabiting Hsinchu and Miaoli counties. They have a shocking myth, similar to the Greek myth, but with a twist. A white-haired woman came to Openabun in a dream and told him a great storm would come. He built a boat, but only he and his sister survived. They had a child. They cut the child into pieces, and each piece became a person. They then went forth to repopulate the earth. The Tupi-Guarani, an indigenous culture in Brazil myth. The world flooded because the daughters of the creator god Tupa broke a forbidden pot. The survivors built a new world from the ruins. The Kabli Kabli culture in Algeria. The flood was caused by God to punish humanity's wickedness. Only a virtuous man named C. Nancer and his family survived in a boat made from a walnut tree. Rapa Nui, Easter Island. One man, Haumaka, and his family, long ears or giants, survived the flood and fracturing of the continent of Mu by going east to the highest peak of the continent and repopulate the now island. The Sami myth from northern Europe. The Sami people, or Laplanders, called the flood Seidi and Siknu. A man and his wife survived by building a boat on the advice of a deity and later becoming the ancestors of the Sami people by repopulating the area. The India and Bangladesh myth, or Bengali myth, Manu and the fish. Manu is warned by a fish of an incarnation of Vishnu about an impending flood. He builds a boat to save himself, 7 great sages, animals, and seeds to restart life after the flood. The Polynesian flood myth. Maui, a demigod, a giant, tried to win immortality for humanity by transforming into a bird and flying to the heavens. However, his brother cut the feathers, causing him to fall and flood the land. The Chinese flood was caused by the displeasure of the gods, survived by the virtuous Da Yu who dredged channels to control the waters, earning him the mandate of the emperor. The Aztec myth in Mesoamerica. The god Tezcatlipoca sent a great flood to destroy the 4th Sun World era. Coxkix and his wife survived by floating in a giant chest and later repopulated the earth. In the mythology of the Ket people of northern Eurasia, modern-day Siberia, people survived the flood by grabbing onto floating turf. That's a new one. The Korean flood myth. The hero Chumong uses his magical powers to control the waters and protect his kingdom. The Irish flood myth is very mystical. According to the Labor Gabala, the first people to arrive in Ireland were led by Césaire, daughter of Bith, son of Noah. They go to the western edge of the world to escape the oncoming flood. They arrive 40 days before the flood and prepare. Only one of 53 survives. Fintan. He becomes a salmon, later an eagle, living for 5,500 years after the flood. Later, he becomes a man again and recounts Ireland's history. A cataclysmic flood, divine intervention, the survival of a select few. This prevalence across distant cultures raises intriguing questions about their origins. Are they interpretations of a single monumental historic event, or are they just stories meant to entertain? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think? Was there really a worldwide flood that brought humanity to the edge of extinction? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And as always, I'm not saying this and every story I share is 100% true. I'm just telling a story and you can believe what you want. Uncovering the truth, one conspiracy at a time. See you next week on the White Rabbit YouTube channel.